Take a deep breath. I'm Michelle Granberg. Welcome back to Positive Energy, where we explore holistic ways to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Have you tried alternative healing? Alternative and complementary care are gaining more and more popularity here in New Jersey and around the world. On this show, we're exploring the many methods, natural, non-invasive healing arts that are available to each of us as consumers. My guests are Susan Lieberman and Andrea Grace from the Natural Healing Alliance. So Susan and Andrea, welcome to Positive Energy.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here.
I love having you here. We know each other. You've been to my center, you've done your talks there. I think I heard about the NHA probably about 2 years ago now. Is it about that long?
It's about that long, yes.
Okay, so it's about time to have you here to talk a little bit about it. Let's get a little bit first about your background. Andrea, would you like to start to tell us about yourself? We're all healers, so tell us a little bit about your practice and yourself.
Okay, yeah. So for me, natural healing was natural from growing up. I grew up in a family where we had asthma and eczema, and so my parents, being 60s kids, would take us to acupuncturists. We even had a goat because at the time they would say that cow's milk would exacerbate the symptoms. And so it was already in our field growing up. So I was very connected to the idea of the mind-body connection. Yeah, so for me it was just a natural progression.
So you had that early foundation.
I had that early foundation.
So what led you to where you are now in your practice, and tell us what you do, what modalities you practice?
So I've studied a lot. Now it's all combined. The individual modalities would be Reiki, Jinshin Jutsu, clinical Qigong, regression therapy, which I studied with Dolores Cannon. Let's see. Meditation is a great foundation. Yeah.
Very nice. So you have lots of experience and lots of it to bring.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been doing it for 10 years now. And every morning I wake up and I think, wow, how did I get here? Well, the interest has been there the whole time, but to actually do it as a living is a different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you followed your bliss, and fortunately the rest of the world is catching up to that. There really is a demand for what we do.
It's true.
So that's what's nice about it.
Yeah, it's true.
Susan, how about you? Tell us about yourself and what you practice.
Yeah. Well, I really have been a healer all my life. From the time I was a small child, I can remember in our farm in upstate New York.
Wait a minute, you both had farms?
Oh,
no.
we actually
You just had a goat.
We just had a goat.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we didn't have a farm.
We had chickens.
A yard.
There you go. I'm sorry.
And but my brother and I would rescue all of these hurt animals and birds and squirrels, and we'd all bring them in and, put splints on and help them and talk to them. And so it's really been a natural progression all of my life. And my mom got sick when I was a teenager, and I was her caretaker. And then it was a natural progression. I became a nurse. And I studied, or I worked in critical care units, intensive care units, cardiac care units, open heart cardiac care units, operating room, emergency room, you name it, I've been there.
So you've been well steeped in the traditional end of it, in the medical, clinical.
Yes, and really what my mission is I bring East and West together. So I know the Eastern knowledge and I know the Western science, and together they work great together. So, but I realized through going through all of that there had to be something more, and that something was missing. And for me, what was missing was the whole person aspect of it. And then I started to explore and realized that there was something that we could do for ourselves, and I could do for myself, to stay healthy, so prevention, and then if I did get sick, to take matters into my own hands or to help whatever I was doing. And so it was this whole person aspect of it that really, really attracted me, and that's how I got into natural healing. So what I do is Jinshin Jitsu, medical qigong, massage. I am a massage therapist, a licensed massage therapist,
Yes.
and meditation.
So everything that you've both mentioned falls under this arch, this category of complementary care, and it falls under holistic and energy healing and light touch. So let's talk a little bit more to lay a foundation about what that is and how it works.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way for people to understand energy is just to become aware that your heart beats whether you ask it to or not.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a force that's telling it to beat.
Yes.
And clearly that there's an intelligence that something created the heart in the first place.
Right.
And so in, I guess, the vernacular, we call that the life force. So what is that? It's the life force energy. And so it's the life force that tells the heart to beat. And then that life force is running through the body.
Mm-hmm.
And when that life force is flowing in harmony, in balance and harmony, then the person is usually well and vital.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's disharmony in the energy flow, then it can create disease. And I love the expression, it's a really good one to keep in mind, that biology goes where energy flows.
Right.
And so you know by just looking at how you're doing physically, emotionally, and mentally, how the energy is flowing through your body. And so that's why it's good to have somebody helping you with that, somebody who's trained to be able to help keep the balance, your energetic balance, so that you can stay well and vital.
So all of this rests on the assertion or the truth that we are energy. We have these energy bodies, and we're not necessarily taught that in school.
Yeah.
Maybe that will happen at some point. And so energy healing uses energy to address energy flow.
Right. Well, you know, in ancient times, you know, in the villages of China and Tibet, there would be a healer in the village,
Right.
and his job or her job would be to keep the villagers well. And he would do that, or she would do that, through food and through teas and tinctures and through energy work.
Right.
I think in 2012, I did a trek in Nepal, and in the monasteries there's this beautiful artwork, and almost in every single monastery there were depictions, illustrations of people laying hands. Right. And there would be phantom hands, and the energy would be flowing from their hands, and the person would be lying down on the ground. So it's really ancient. It's an ancient
always
wisdom.
Been a part.
Yeah.
Of cultures, of ancient cultures at least, and now there's a
Yeah.
re-emergence or rediscovery. Maybe it was lost. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
here we are now when we need it the most in our modern
Exactly.
times, tapping into this once again.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are some of the benefits that you've seen that are known around, you know, from energy healing and from light touch?
Sure. I mean, just from my own experience. So I said that I was a really sick kid. I had chronic asthma. I was one of those kids that hospitals liked because I was so standard chronic asthmatic that they would want to do tests on me.
Wow.
So that left somewhere along the way. So when I had started my own Reiki practice and really got into the healing arts with a strong attention, for a long time it was simply a hobby for me. But then in time it became something that I really focused on and wanted to learn more about. And somehow the asthma left. I was allergic to cats and dogs and the weather. There's no way I could have lived here. And so that left somehow. So in my own experience, I've had that. And then with my clients, I mean, even a recent client I can think of, she had a accumulation under her knee. And so I was working a couple of sessions on doing that, and I gave her some self-care. And her third session was just on Monday, and it's gone. And of course you can't know, right? You can't know.
Right.
But she has had that accumulation for years. And the way that she would relieve it the doctor would, what's the word?
Inject.
She would drain it.
Yes, she would
Have it drained.
Right.
Is that what you mean by an accumulation? Because I wasn't sure if you were talking about an energy accumulation. You're talking about something
physical,
else.
because
Okay.
biology goes where energy flows.
Okay.
So it was this, extra lump under her knee.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually to treat that, she would go to the doctor and he would drain it, and so we did energy work on it, and so by the third session it was gone. So it depends, what.
But there are many applications
So many
for
applications.
things on the physical level, but it also works on a mental, emotional
right.
level. We could say it goes to a spiritual level,
Of course.
and it goes to levels that are unseen, unknown. Sometimes we don't even know what the origin is. We may not know, the source of that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it depends on the individual. And often they're so related, though. I had a client, and she had food allergies. Over the past 5 years, she developed food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did our pre-session discussion, we found out that she had a lot of animosity towards her brothers and her father.
Mm.
And so when we got into the session, we found out that the anger that she was holding was in the solar plexus area, which is here. And so we were able to release that. And so immediately after the session, she was able to go back to eating regular food.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, so results are varied, of course.
Varied.
There's no magic here. There's no
No.
instant cure. But even more and more, mainstream practitioners are looking to this complementary care. And there's some research behind it that it boosts the immune system, that
Right.
there's some pain relief.
Exactly.
But it's more the on the day-to-day level, what our clients will say, that they always feel good, they feel relief, they feel relaxed, they feel less stressed.
Exactly.
And that allows for the body to go back to balance.
Exactly.
And to heal itself, like it's designed to heal itself.
Yeah, everything is working to bring the body and
Right.
everything back into balance. That's
Right.
everything's working to support that
Mhm.
balance. Yeah, so we just help it.
Correct.
The practitioner who studied and
Yeah.
practiced can help facilitate that.
Yeah, one of the misconceptions is that, because we call ourselves healers sometimes, that we're doing the healing, and that's actually a misconception. Not doing the healing. We are supporting and providing a really important role,
Exactly.
but they themselves are allowing for the healing
Exactly.
to happen in that
I know.
way.
You can't ever know who or how or where or when
Yeah.
relief will happen.
That's why we say for the highest good.
For the highest good.
So
I
that
love
part of it that is beyond our knowing in that way.
Exactly.
So we're talking about hands-on healing here, just so if people aren't familiar, people come in, they lay on a table fully clothed in most of these modalities,
Yeah.
and hands are placed on or above the body.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So, Susan, this is all becoming very much a part of mainstream mainstream healthcare, and you have a big background in that,
Yes.
bodywork and massage as well. So what do you think is happening? Why is it happening now that there's more popularity, and where can we find practitioners? Where do we find them working, and how can we locate one?
So before I can even answer that question, let's take a look at the context, and
Please.
the larger picture of where we are today in healthcare.
Now we're going to get depressed. No, I'm just kidding. Go
So I'm going to spell some statistics,
I love
but then
it.
we're
Good.
going to get into some good stuff. I just wanted to show everybody where we are and where we're evolving to.
Right.
So right now we spend about 17 to 18% of our gross national product or gross domestic product.
Mm-hmm.
So to give you an idea of how large we are spending on what happens when we get sick,
Yeah.
that's about $29 trillion a year that we spend on ourselves getting sick or trying to help ourselves.
Out of pocket, or just
In-
as an overall number
As
of what's
overall
being
number.
spent, whether it's insurance
Right.
or the cost of
That's
health.
correct. So you can see that, we're spending a lot of money for when we get ill
Yeah.
or sick.
Yeah, that's where our money's going.
That's where our money's going. It's huge. And how does that affect us today and us sitting around this table? And also maybe somebody you know or a loved one or a family member. Just think about it. Either you can't afford insurance,
Right.
or the premiums are skyrocketing, Or you've got this huge deductible now where what you really have is catastrophic insurance and you're still paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
So that's how much we're paying to help ourselves when we get sick.
Got it.
Okay? So
That's the big picture.
That's the big picture. So if you look at now complementary therapies, what's being spent on that? It's about $34 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's about 350 million visits a year to complementary practitioners. And why are people doing that? Why are people going? Because they realize that they need something else.
Right.
They need to be looked at as a whole person. Both what you were saying before was mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
And it works. It's
And it
been
works.
working for thousands of years.
And it's more cost effective.
It's more cost effective and it's non-invasive.
Right.
So where do you find these practitioners? You can find them all over.
Yeah.
So like we said, we're going into mainstream now. So if you were to go into a hospital, for example, an Atlantic Health System, you could go into the emergency department, or if you were an inpatient, or if you were an outpatient, and you could ask for a Reiki practitioner, or a Jitsu practitioner, or a massage therapist, or an acupuncturist.
Right.
So it's in mainstream. Mainstream realizes that we need to work together. Or you could go to a community practitioner such as Andrea and myself.
And myself as well. Well, so given that, yes, it's sort of still the increasing in birth of all of this. How would a consumer know where to go, how to choose a practitioner, who's qualified, who isn't qualified?
So the question that I have to ask people is, where would they go if they were looking for another healthcare provider? Where would they go if they were looking for their physician? Okay,
Right.
What would be the first thing you would do? You would ask a
Recommendation.
friend, a recommendation.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
That is a really great way. And were you satisfied? And,
Right.
So that's the first thing. But there also is a second thing. And the second thing is ask questions.
Right.
Ask your practitioner questions. Ask the people that you're going to questions.
Right.
So the first would be, tell me a little bit about your modality.
Right.
What training and education have you had? What school did you go to? Did you get a certificate? Did you get a certification?
Right.
Did you get a diploma? And I'm not saying that is the be-all and end-all, that guarantees
Right.
whether someone is going to be qualified or competent, but at least it sets a standard for you to go by.
Right. So speaking about setting standards, you've both started up this organization, the National Healing Alliance. So I'd love for you to tell us now what inspired and the reason for this, and a little bit of the history and where it began.
It started because of the legislation that was coming through for massage therapists back in 2000, and that law was passed in 2012. But then it didn't come to our awareness until 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Susan and I were working on another project at the time, and at first we thought, oh, that law doesn't apply to us because clearly we're not massage therapists, nor are we body workers. But then there were some murmurings in our community, and so we decided to look more into it, and we found out that the regulations are what interpret the law, that the regulations did point to energy workers.
Right.
That if that you would be practicing body work if do you remember
If you affected the energy fields of the body.
Yeah, and so then we started to attend the meetings at the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs in Newark, and we wanted to find out more about it, what was going on. And their stance at the time was that if you're touching the body, then you do require a license.
Right.
And so then we pushed back with that. And then eventually we were able to, through our grassroots effort, a letter from the Attorney General came down, which stated that if you're not intending to practice massage or body work, then you're not. But really that just pointed back to the original law, actually. So while there was some relief in the community still, actually it didn't really make a difference actually, legally.
Right.
And so we decided through all this that we needed to do something, or that somebody needed to do something. And if you hear that thought that somebody needs to do something, then maybe that somebody is you.
Right. If not me, who? If not now, when? Yes.
It's sort of invited back to us.
Yeah, somebody should do something. Yeah. And so we founded the not-for-profit as with its original mission to lobby and support or advocate for energy and light touch practitioners.
Yeah, to be a voice for.
Correct.
So just to clarify, massage therapists are licensed.
Correct.
And that's relatively new.
In New Jersey.
Okay. And they're required to have a license. Energy practitioners are not.
Correct.
So it stemmed from the concern that there would be some confusion about the different modalities and that we would be required to be licensed.
Correct.
So you wanted to make sure there was a discussion before that happened, at the very least, if not finding out, is that really necessary?
Correct.
So, can you say a little bit more about that, Susan? Do light touch and energy practitioners, they don't need to be licensed? Do they need to be registered with the state? Anything else currently about practicing, and anything else about the NHA?
So let's again take a step back. What happens is that some states require either licensure or registration through their state boards, and the boards could be a massage therapy board, a nursing board, a naturopathy board, a chiropractic board.
Right now it's state by state.
It's
at the state level.
It is at the state level. Most of them are massage therapy boards. The reason that we advocated, along with the other people, that energy workers are not licensed in this state is because if we went under the massage therapy laws and regulations, it doesn't apply to us. It's not what we do.
Right. It's
So
apples and oranges.
It's apples and oranges. So it didn't make sense.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons that we felt that we needed to have standards amongst ourselves, no matter what the modality was. So it was cross-modality, so that we wouldn't end up like states like Florida that require energy workers to be licensed as massage therapists. And what that does is that hurts all of us, not just the practitioners, but the people that we serve.
Say more about that, how it hurts, what the bigger picture of that is. Part of it goes back to those numbers that you shared with us.
So it would be like all of a sudden you have access to your physicians, and all of a sudden you don't have access to those physicians anymore, because we would have had to be licensed massage therapists, and that's not what we do, and that's not our training. Our training is different.
Right. So, Andrea, what is your hope and vision for the future? Where do you see the field going in general?
Well, I teach a lot of my clients self-care, and because the natural healing arts really were born out of preventative care, the desire for preventative care, that's where my vision is. My vision is that everybody naturally uses their own resources, and within that resource would be natural healing practitioners as a way to keep themselves well. So it's a no-brainer. It's just what we do. Just as you do your regular teeth cleaning and you go to the dentist for a major cleaning, it would be the same thing, where you do your self-care, your regular self-care, your daily self-care, and then you would go to an energy worker or energy and light touch practitioner to do anything where you needed a little extra assistance. So that's where I see it.
Yeah, people taking more responsibility for their care and understanding a little bit more about themselves as energy, and more about the power of their own mind, and how mind, body, and spirit all connect in that way. And the wonderful thing about energy modalities is you're right, you can learn to place your hands on yourself, or have an intention in a certain way, or visualize in a certain way, and that we don't realize how really powerful that is.
That's right. Well, as Susan was saying, there's so many resources that are used unnecessarily, with people going to doctors for things that they could heal on their own, or that they could excuse me, work on their own through. It's easy for me to be able to know when a cold is coming in and then take the necessary steps to boost my immune function and practice my self-care in order to not get it.
It takes much less time.
So much less
the comfort
time.
of your home.
That's right.
Doesn't cost anything. It makes logical sense to me.
Yeah, so that's the vision from the community level.
Right.
And then in terms of where practitioners are, I see them as being peers to licensed professionals. So where they're seen as professionals in the healthcare field.
Yeah. We'd love to boost that. So that's part of your vision and mission for the NHA, and how you're actually trying to make a difference and calling people to action and calling yourself to action. So Susan, tell us a little bit more about why would someone want to become a practitioner who's out there? Why would they want to be a member of the NHA? What are the benefits of that, of becoming part of this community?
Yeah, and it is a community. I think there's two buckets that I would talk about. One from the practitioner level, and one from any person who wants to learn or know more about.
Or just support.
So the first is that you've heard is that we provide an advocacy role. So we are advocates, and we specifically focus on the natural healing arts, including light touch and energy therapies. So it's not a sideline, it is who we support. And then in daily practice, we also have tools to help the practitioners and help them, because many of us make a living that way.
Right.
And so we need tools. So we have tools such as consent tools, code of ethics, standards of practice, guidelines of how to I'll call it navigate the state laws and regulations so that you practice safely. And on the other hand, for people out in the community, we provide an educational service.
Wow. So how can people reach you? Where can they find you? Give us your website, and how can people reach out to you now?
Sure. So the organization is the Natural Healing Alliance. So we have a website, and it's at www.naturalhealingalliance.org. And then our email address is info@naturalhealingalliance.org. So it's easy to...
Go ahead.
And people can also reach out to you if they want you to come and do a speaking, do a talk, to give some general information.
Exactly.
You tend to go where practitioners are located, which these days is in many different places. Healing centers like my own, yoga centers, all over.
And conferences. We've given a couple of talks to different conferences. The Reiki conference was last
November.
Thank you.
And we raise awareness about the natural healing arts and energy therapy, and we also offer professional liability insurance for natural healing practitioners.
Beautiful. So this is really helpful information, so I hope that you'll reach out to Susan and Andrea, to the Natural Healing Alliance. You can reach out to myself as well. My website's relaxationandhealing.com and michellegranberg.com. You can find Positive Energy TV show on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Vimeo. So I really would love your feedback. I'd love to hear what you thought about today's show and how that might be useful for you. Is there a message, just a quick couple of word message you'd love to leave people with today?
The power to heal is in your hands, and we're on a journey together, and we can all do it together.
Beautiful. Agreed, yes?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here. This was wonderful. And thank you for joining me on Positive Energy.